Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. Today, we're going to be talking about altered states. I want to start out with a small quote from a poem written by Raven Bearclaw. She's a poet, excellent poet, has published 3 or 4 books of poetry now, and she is amazing. The quietude of the early morn, releasing my mind. As I drifted into stillness, I heard the breath of my own heart. It's when we get quiet that we begin to hear. It's when we get quiet that we begin to feel and see. And that's how we develop our gifts, our intuition, our psychic ability, and our mediumship. Today, as I was researching for the show, some items besides what I had as personal thoughts, I thought, well, maybe I'll look up an animal totem that would represent altered states or trance work. And I found the lynx totem, Lynx, like the bobcat, lynx totem. So I chose it because of its association with altered states of consciousness. For those of you that don't know, a totem would be an animal that you relate to that brings you a message from spirit. And those that are your personal totems are the ones where your energy is most closely aligned to them. You might know your totem if you associated yourself with an animal. One of my animals is the lynx, the bobcat. And I've been just fascinated by bobcats and the Iberian lynx all my life. And unconsciously named my business, my corporation is Green Lynx LLC. That's green like the color Lynx LLC, because of the play on words with green as in sustainable technology and links as in connection. I just didn't realize that it was a totem of mine at the time when I named it that, but all my life been drawn to that animal. And then in 2010, when I was at Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Science in Stansted, England, Essex, I was first addressed formally as a medium, and I was going through a process of envisioning and wondering where I was going with my business. And I actually found one day when I went into the bath to take a bath after class, a lynx shampoo sitting right there on the edge. It was empty. Someone had used it before, but I thought it was really cool because it actually had Lynx on it. The color on the bottle had green on a black background. So that became a keepsake for me as a confirmation from spirit that I was going in the right direction. And more recently, I had a dream just probably a couple of weeks ago. I woke up pulling out of my sleep, and before I became fully conscious, I became aware that there were 2 large cats, and I mean as in a lynx and a lioness, that were all piled up. You know how you see puppies? I call them puppy piles when I hang out with my dogs and they all cuddle around and tuck in. I woke up and I had a lynx and a lioness wrapped into my energy field. There was a third animal, and as I came out of the sleep, I actually forgot what that third animal is, and I keep wanting to go back into that state to retrieve that third totem there, but I did recall being surprised that it had been cuddled up with the other three of us, as I was sleeping. So totems are animals that we resonate with, but they're deeper than that because they bring or exemplify characteristics that we have. I wanted to just throw in another detail before I go into a little spiel about the lynx. I have a really close bond with Jesus and Ganesh and Sedna and Freya, which are gods and goddesses of the other realm, ascended masters. And when I prepared for today's show, I had no idea that I would find the lynx totem would resonate so deeply with me in its description. And the reason I'm talking too about totems and the fact that that occurred in a state between sleep and wake is because that's an altered state. That's when we're between the sleep and the wake state. That's where we absorb information from the subconscious and are more aware of it. Presley Love on her website, universeofsymbolism.com, says that, and I'm going to quote, "The lynx is the master seer Gifted with the abilities of second sight, possessing the ability to see through solid objects and into other dimensions. The lynx has the sight to see into the soul of someone, to see the thoughts and intentions without a word being spoken. With a lynx power animal, you can hear the thoughts of other people. The lynx has tall, tufted ears. They have evolved to have the ability to perceive and pick up the silent thoughts of others through vibrational energy. Many are uncomfortable with this ability, and I'm going to interject here. I'm not uncomfortable with that ability, but sometimes I think it makes other people uncomfortable, and I try to keep that in the confines of my readings so that I don't weird out my friends and family on a regular basis. Back to what Presley Love says here, the lynx spirit animal knows truth and the heart of others. Because of this, the lynx chooses to be alone. And I found that interesting because I certainly do enjoy my solitude. Knowing the truth connects lynx to the Great Spirit, and this is sustaining and brings great purpose. And I love the view of that connection to the divine, whatever perception you have. I know I have my own. It does create a sense of solitude and peace, and I crave that aloneness. Not all the time. I like to be social too. Presley says, lynx totem animal is comfortable with who she is and needs no one's approval but her own. The lynx totem has the power of instinct and observation. The lynx spirit animal has the energies of silence and knows how to balance, play, and work. Lynx animal magic is that of second sight and vibrational perception. The mystic lore of the lynx spirit animal is symbolized in Native American culture and lore. The lynx developed the gift of second sight and vibrational perception through the training of observation. And that's the first step of a shaman initiative or the first lesson in mystery schools. Someone with a lynx totem has mastered these abilities and is appearing so that you can be taught the gifts that will help expand your abilities. And I found it interesting because that's, of course, part of my show is to share ways that you can develop your own psychic abilities. Lynx symbols and the Norse goddess Freya are connected. And I was like, wow, really? That's so interesting. I didn't know that. So lynx and the Norse goddess Freya are connected, and there are several spiritual meanings for the lynx symbol in Norse mythology. As the lynx was a familiar and companion to Freya, who was a Norse warrior goddess, many times leading her chariots together, they won battles with their gift of vision and foresight. The lynx spirit animal is connected to the gift of knowing. I would call that intuition, the gift of knowing, in the Bible, the gift of knowledge. Lynx spirit animal is very quiet, but when the lynx speaks, listen. She is an oracle, having the gift of knowing and speaking the thoughts of others and having the foresight of their actions. Listen closely to the lynx totem. Listen closely to your heart. Lynx symbolism teaches, for therein lies the truth of all things, the wisdom of eternity. And there's a connection between snow and the ancient powers and symbols of the lynx. In the Himalayas, the lynx is called the ghost cat. And I found that amusing being a medium. It is so elusive that it never shows itself. The true power of the lynx spirit animal is heightened with the onset of winter, and at this time the lynx goes on a solo expedition. The lynx has a beautiful white coat that blends in with the snow and becomes one with the energies of winter and snow. The lynx bounds effortlessly through the snow with big fluffy feet like snowshoes and seems to delight in the romp and play of everyday living and catching its feast. The lynx has an appetite for the hare or rabbit, and the hare being its absolute most favorite dish. Although lynx totem brings a symbolic meaning and message to balance your work and play, have fun while you're doing all that's necessary each day, because each day is precious and should be enjoyed to the fullest. Well, I just thought that was interesting and wanted to share that with you. On to altered states. What are they, and why would we even be talking about them? The definition of altered states is any modification of the normal state of consciousness or awareness, including drowsiness or sleep, and also states that are created by the use of alcohol, drugs, hypnosis, or techniques of meditation. And you've heard me in previous episodes. If you're going to work in spirit, please do not access the spirit realm through alcohol, drugs, or hypnosis. Those are great for other things, perhaps, if used wisely. I don't know about the drug part, but anyway, when you want a pure altered state, you would do that through a technique of meditation. And the reason that altered states are important for people that are developing their mediumship or trance work is that the deeper you go, the deeper the messages from spirit can be, the less of you and the more of the eternal and the unlimited can come through you. Well, I wanted to share a few thoughts. Many of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks. If you aren't, check out abraham-hicks.com. Abraham says, a belief is just a thought that we keep thinking. I have a thing called This Is Me, written by Byron Katie. This is me. I am offering what I am without the veil. That is the gift we have to give, us, without the veil. Other people can become honest as well. Our thoughts are how we keep the veil. Every time we question a thought, the veil is lifted. So going back, letting our intellect and our ego aside so that we can release our preconceived ways of thinking and allow our minds to open up to see and experience new things, that's the ticket there. Anytime you work in spirit, you should always ask before you go in for protection. It can be as simple as saying, protect me, I'm going in. Thomas, who is a slave from Alabama, said, the biggest protection you all need is a loving heart, an open heart, and an honest heart. For if you don't have those things, you can say all the prayers you like, and you will not have protection. You can sit within a church, within a church, within a church, and you will not have protection. For the only and best protection is an open and loving heart. And I think that synchronizes with our current philosophies of like attracts like. And if you raise your vibration, negative entities cannot attach to you. There is an episode we did on psychic protection that goes in great detail on some other ways to achieve that. But for now, that will do for today. So I wanted at first, if an altered state is releasing the left brain and allowing the right brain to take over, I wanted to compare some of the ways that we perceive through our left brain and right brain. And I have a contrast. So I'm going to say the left brain first and then the right brain and how those different elements compare. As the left brain is our logical part, we draw conclusions that are based on logic and one thing following another in logical order. In our intuitive right brain, we make leaps of insight, often based on incomplete patterns, hunches, feelings, and visual images. Our left brain thinking is linear. We think in terms of linked ideas, one thought directly following another, often leading to a convergent conclusion. But the right brain is more holistic. We see things whole at once, perceiving the overall patterns and structures. That often leads to divergent conclusions. The left brain is our verbal part, and we use words to name, describe, divine. Our right brain is nonverbal. It's the awareness of things, but minimal connection with words. It's the feeling part of us, the intuitive part of us. The left brain is temporal. It keeps track of time, sequences things one after another. The right brain is non-temporal, without a sense of time. And when you do go into a tremendously deep altered state, there's a point where time stops. And that's where the entire matrix of information, all the galaxies, all the universes open up to you. And that information of our higher self and higher dimensions, the Akashic records, etc., are available to us. Our left brain is rational. We draw conclusions based on reason and fact. And our right brain is not rational and does not require a basis of reason or facts, and its willingness to suspend judgment. Our left brain is analytic, figuring out things step by step and part by part. And our right brain is synthetic, putting things together to form wholes. Our left brain is abstract, taking out a small bit of information and using it to represent the whole thing. And our right brain is analogic. And that means we see the relationships between things and understand metaphoric relationships. Left brain is symbolic, using a symbol to stand for something. Our right brain is concrete, relating to things as they are in the present moment. Our left brain is digital and uses numbers as in counting, and our right brain is spatial, and that's seeing where things are in relationship to other things and how they go together to form a whole. So that gives you a textural contrast of our left and right brain, and you can understand that if you're going to experience things beyond the day-to-day mundane world, that you would have to relax your mind and allow that intuitive, creative part of yourself a little bit of freedom. When we're in an altered state, the left and the right brain don't always communicate too well. And that's sometimes why we don't remember all of what we say during a reading, or why sometimes a client might not grasp the message right away. They might be sitting there and thinking, oh, that means such and such, but if they re-listen to a tape or think about it in retrospect, they might see it from a deeper or different perspective. That explains why I can't remember that third animal that was cuddled up around me as I came out of sleep state, feeling my connection to some of my totems there. And so simply put, the left brain equals structure and the right brain equals flow. So if you want to imagine a riverbank or water flowing along through a riverbank, the left brain might wonder, where did it come from? Can I drink it? Where is it going? But the right brain just sees the flow, relaxes to the sound, and starts to dream. Altered states are about letting go. They're about relaxing and focusing. When we're in an altered state, our two brains don't communicate very well. There are different continuums of awareness or depth of meditation that enhance our ability to connect to our right brain, to our subconscious, to the things that are unseen. We've talked in previous episodes about our chakras and how they connect the two worlds, how they are the interface between the seen and the unseen. There are energy centers that bring in information at all levels of our being to help us function in this physical dimension here. So as you work on your altered states, as you work on deepening your trance work and gaining information that is beyond the know in the physical world, we go from a mental world to a physical world along a continuum. Physical demonstration of spirit coming through a medium might include apports. Apports are physical objects that manifest apparently out of thin air, but of course they aren't out of thin air. They're out of the etheric realm. Transfiguration can occur where you see a fully formed visible spirit. Also, there are forms of spirit art that occur in those states where someone can draw the faces of those in spirit. Inspirational writing starts out where we ourselves have an idea, and then as we're inspired, it goes along that continuum to where we write more freely and more profoundly. And then it can come into automatic writing where we're not even aware of what we're writing, but when we look down and read it, it's just really profound. Art can be also inspired that way, where we're drawing and maybe our first effort would be to trace or to copy. And then as we become freer and more inspired, we start drawing free-handed. And as we see the images in our minds, or we're feeling free to modulate the design or drawing or painting or sculpture according to what we feel, that can go to a further extent where there is actually precipitated art. I'm hoping to have on my show a spirit artist that does card precipitation. I've asked him to come on. We'll see if we can get him to come on here and talk to us about his art. But one of the things that he does is precipitated cards. He doesn't touch the cards, but Spirit works through the medium of the materials that he's collected, the pens and pencils and other things that he uses, and precipitates or paints a picture on the front of an index card or sometimes a piece of silk. And then on the back side of the index cards, you would see the names of your guides and angels. And the medium himself would not be doing that. That's done by the hand of Spirit. It's pretty amazing. Just again, hoping to have him on the show. And I know I'm not mentioning his name, but that's because I want to see if he'll come on board before I start blabbing about him personally. So there we go. Also, when we speak, as we enter an altered state, our speaking goes from very methodical, maybe reading or having to think about what we're saying, to allowing it to flow through us, where we have very inspired thinking. There's some ministers and speakers, public speakers, and people that are able to just take a concept and roll with it, and it's just really inspirational. I'm not trying to be sassy. I'm getting a kick out of the play on words there. Then it can go into channeling, where you're communicating as you go into a little bit deeper altered state. You can feel that the messages are coming through easily from those that have passed. And then there's dead trance mediumship, where you're not in your mind, you've gone somewhere else in your mind, and the voices of those that are in spirit can speak through you. So an altered state is about letting go and relaxing and allowing the flow of spirit, the left brain being the structure, the right brain being the flow. Allowing that can create some tremendous, interesting experiences. And I'm going to share a few in the next half of the hour here. I'm really excited to be able to share these things with you. We're glad to have you with us. If you tuned in late or would like to listen to some past episodes of the show, you can find them on my website at mediumtracylockwood.com. That's Medium Tracey, Tracey, Lockwood.com, or you can find them on YouTube. And if you do find them on YouTube, please subscribe to my station, and you will get an update of the newest episodes the instant that they post on YouTube. And that'll be before I even get them up on my website. So it's a good place to tune in. Today, we're talking about altered states. And altered states are a state of consciousness that varies from our normal state of awareness. It can include sleep or techniques of meditation. We're not talking about drugs or alcohol kind of altered states, because those aren't healthy for you, but we're talking about those that can be achieved through meditation. I do want to thank you again for joining us. So I wanted to kick off our second half here on the show by sharing some tales from the other side. And these are not going to be with me giving examples from reading like we often do, but they're going to include some experiences that I had when I went into a deep altered state. The third one that I'm going to share, you might want to even do that one with me. It's just kind of cool. Anyway, I thought I would share. If you want to create an altered state for yourself and you have trouble focusing during meditation and you think, oh, I can't let go of my left brain. First of all, yes, you can. So if you do have intrusive thoughts, just let them move past you. Sort of like intrusive people that you're seeing out in public or driving through traffic. You just keep going, And you'll learn to sustain that state for longer and longer time frames. And it's good to aim at about 20 minutes. And that might sound like a long time, but as I mentioned in the first half of the show, there's a point where time stops. And at that point, it's where you become the observer. You begin to experience things that are outside your body of knowledge. One CD that I love to listen to reach an altered state is called The Ultimate Om. It's, I believe, Goldberg. I'm sorry, I'm spacing out on who did it, but you can Google The Ultimate Om, O-M, and find that on eBay or Amazon or wherever. There's another one called Sacred Drums, A Shamanic Journey. And that one is a repetitive drumming, sort of like the tribal drumming that you've heard, dun 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 sound. Either of those are helpful in training your mind to stay in a theta state. That's the state between sleep and awake. It's a natural state, nothing bizarre, nothing supernatural about it, because we are dual beings. We are both spirit and flesh, and we have access to both those realms, those worlds at all times, if we will tune into them, and energy follows focus. So as you allow your focus to shift into the other realm, well, there you are. So I had been doing a meditation, and all of a sudden I detached from my body and my mind. I began traveling through the galaxies and the universes. It was really tremendous. I was passing through a void that contained an amazing amount of stars and whole galaxies. The scale was tremendous to be able to see an entire galaxy as if it were something rather small. And I reached this level of vibration, for lack of a better word, that's how I'm going to describe it. And I saw this beautiful giant, I wouldn't even begin to be able to tell you the size of it, but it was this incredibly beautiful, huge purple lotus. And the purple lotus began to open. From the top of it, I saw Ganesh, which is an Indian god, as in India. And you might want to Google about Ganesh. There's some very cool things about Ganesh available on the web. And Ganesh was just very impressive. He's the elephant god with 4 arms containing different things. I mentioned in the previous half that when you let go of your ego and your intellect, you do open yourself to experience things that might not be in your everyday reality. Also, that allow you to experience things that are outside your realm of awareness and bring back things that are important and significant to your life there. The Lord Ganesh is part of prosperity and happiness. And of course, our mission here on planet Earth is to achieve happiness. And according to Esther Hicks and Abraham, the entity that she channels, satisfaction is the opposite of resistance, and resistance is what keeps good things from coming into our lives. So very important to have the feeling before you receive what it is that you want. So if you're having trouble waiting on something, like you're having trouble waiting on a person coming into your life, or finances coming into your life, or a job that you've been waiting for, any job at all will do, then best to be having a sense of satisfaction. Well, how do you reach a sense of satisfaction if you don't have what it is that you want yet? And you do that by 2 things. You do it by a sense of gratitude for what you do have, because all of us can say thank you for things in our life. Whatever those things are, there are many, many things that we can be thankful for. And the more we think about it, the more it self-perpetuates, and the more things we realize that we have to be thankful for. And the second thing is a positive view of the future, that good things are coming. If you're going to expect that job, that person, those finances to come your way, then you are anticipating good things in your future. So why not have a positive attitude about it and a confidence that they are coming in your life? So you combine an attitude of thankfulness with a positive attitude, and that creates a sense of satisfaction, which sets that vibrational frequency to bring on the good stuff. So Ganesh, happiness and prosperity. In another meditation, I was just going in, didn't have any expectation or anticipation, was just exploring to see what occurred. And I looked down, and in my clairvoyant sight, I had become Ganesh. But it was really weird because everything was to scale for me, so I wasn't huge in my perception. And I looked down, and I had this blue, fleshy trunk. And it was so strange to see myself that way. I had 4 arms, and I was aware of the things that were in my hands. And I didn't have a conscious realization of what Ganesh actually looked like per se at that time, other than I'd seen pictures, but it wasn't really in my mind. I never tried to imagine what it would be like. And I didn't really feel that much different than I do now, but it was just sort of funny to be in the body of Ganesh. I don't know. We are all connected. We are all one. And that matrix of life and love that connects all of us does give us access to experiences that exceed our material expectation. So I promised you a third story, and the third story is probably one of the most precious to me. I'm going to call it the Mysterium. The Mysterium is the name that I use for the spiritual gatherings of the Universal Mind, which is my 501c3 charitable religious organization. I prefer to think of it as a spiritual organization, not religious. Anyway, but the name Mysterium had come to me through a friend who had a dream and heard the word, and then she told me the word, and then this that I'm going to share with you occurred during one of those 20-minute meditations listening to the Om in a spiritual development class that I was taking from another medium. We were working on our channeling and physical mediumship. This was the vision that I had when that came. And this one could serve as a meditation for you. So if you're in a safe place where you can relax and enjoy the ride, please do. So I left my body and I went down into the earth. And I found myself descending into the earth through this rectangular shaft that I liken to a mine shaft. And the rock around me was black and wet. As I moved, there was a light that at the time of the meditation I didn't realize was me. But that light that is within all of us, that light began to light the way that I went down through this shaft into the earth. And as I got deeper into the shaft, I hit a gaseous chamber. And this gaseous chamber burned away the ego and the intellect, and I became a wraith, an element of fire. Then, as I descended further through another tunnel, going further and deeper, I entered this amazing chamber. It was quite large, and it had archways that came to a peak. And I was in the center of this vast area. It was very dark, except where I would turn, I would see things lit. In the center of it, there were hallways that ran off of it like the spokes of a wheel. And each of the hallways had a different purpose and a different destination, but my attention was drawn to one particular hallway. And it was the hallway of time. And as I looked down that hallway beneath one of the beautiful arches there, the stone arches, I noticed the walls of that hallway were comprised of the skulls of every living human that had ever been since the dawn of time. I could feel as I moved from the top of the wall being more present time down deeper, deeper to the bottom where the skulls were almost crushed together in the sense that they were compressed from the weight of time and the other layers of living on top of it back to the beginning of time on Earth. After observing that, I turned around and I went back into the main area where all these hallways converged, and there was, for lack of a better word, a bath. It was a rectangular stone pool of water. Everything was dark, but not dark as in a scary way, but as in the void, as in nothingness rather than somethingness. I was really drawn to the waters in that bath, and I sat down on the edge of the bath and I moved my fingers through the water to ripple the waters, and discovered with great astonishment that I didn't have a body, that I was actually moving the waters with my mind. But as the waters moved, these orbs that were in the waters, in that void, lit up as they jostled each other with the movement. And I was fascinated because I saw that they were the souls of people. They were in this bath. And I was told that the name of that bath is called the Mysterium. Well, curious being that I am, I decided that I wanted to go into the bath, and I found myself moving through the waters and feeling the souls of others jostling me. And I came out at the underside of that bath, and looking upward, I was tethered by a cord to the bottom of that mysterium bath. And I saw it above me. And as I descended, two of the other people that were in that room together were also descended. We descended at a slower and slower rate until time stopped. The instant that time stopped, the scale of what I was experiencing expanded into such a vast space it would be hard to describe it. But it was as if I was on the inside of a sphere, and along the walls of the sphere were doorways, locked doors that went to other realms, or doors that were able to be opened to other realms. And I went to one, opened it up, and I found myself coming into it from the bottom of an ocean. And as I moved up through the warm waters of that ocean, I popped up above the waves and the quiet waters that were there into the daylight that was there. It was very beautiful. I saw land, and I saw animals moving from the water, like eels with legs, and different animals moving up onto the land mass there, and sort of primordial trees growing along the shoreline. In another one, when I entered another world, another meditation, I opened a door and found myself in an alpine meadow. The flowers were so colorful and the altitude was so high. And it was just a joyous experience to be in the crisp, cool sunlight on top of this beautiful alpine mountain in this wonderful meadow with all the beautiful, delicate flowers and the butterflies and insects that were there. Just spectacular. There were other realms, and as I would leave a realm, I would go back into that huge, massive space, and I would reconnect with time, and I would go along the trajectory of the cord through the bottom of the mysterium bath, up into the chambers, back up through the tunnel, passing the gaseous chamber and coming back up to the surface. It was a tremendous experience. And I really bless each of you that has tuned in to listen today. I want you to know that you can have experiences yourself if you will just give yourself a chance. And how amazing was that to experience that within 20 minutes of time? It's really extraordinary when we hit that timeless space. So challenge yourself, give yourself an adventure, take yourself out of this world, go find a place that's yours, a place that you like to go. Experience something different. It will make your life much more valuable. So there are lots of things that we can do to develop our psychic abilities. One exercise is to sit in that quiet space. One exercise is to sit in that quiet space of a meditation. And hold your hands as if they were cupped in your lap, ready to receive something. And imagine what it is that Spirit would place in your hands. You can ask for something in particular, or you can just ask your guides, even if you don't know them, to give you something that is meaningful to you, an object that would symbolize something of significance to you. You can do that and experience a gift from your guides. Another way to do it would be to picture a blank screen or an empty space or a bay of clouds, something blank that doesn't have anything written there, and just allow yourself to move into the mists or watch what comes out of the mist and communicate and travel with those that you connect with. You don't have to be afraid, because if you've asked for protection, you're going to be safe. So I really encourage you to do that. For those of you that like to write, you can start an inspirational writing by just thinking of a word. Ask your guides, give me a word, and then take that word and draw balloons around it that are connected to it, thoughts that have ideas that are connected to that, and start writing something, start creating something new to share with others and to make your life and the lives of others better. Also, I want to thank our audio editor, Darlene Spees. Because of her, our recorded episodes are much clearer. She's a meticulous editor. She makes me sound very concise and clear, and my guests as well. And speaking of guests, next week we have an amazing visitor coming to us from Australia. Her name is Leanne Peters. She's the founder of the Temple of Balance. She's an author of 13 titles, including Ascension and Ascension Mastery series and set of shamanic healing energy cards. She's going to be talking to us about soul groups and soul mates. So you're not going to want to miss that. Her name is Leanne Peters. You can find her, the Temple of Balance, on Facebook. I hope you've enjoyed our show today. If you would like to reach me, you can find me on Facebook at Psychic Medium Tracey Lockwood or on my website at mediumtracylockwood.com. And I'd like to leave you with a blessing. May all beings in all worlds, whether high or low, visible or invisible, simple or complex, all beings without exception, may each and every one of them find lasting peace. May none have enmity or hatred toward one another, and none feel suffering, that we all live or have lived and benefit as well. And that's a Buddhist prayer from Dharma Daniel. I encourage you to remember that it's never inappropriate to be kind, and without integrity, you have nothing. We'll see you next week for a view of life from a medium's perspective. Thank you for joining us.